Marketing for the Now is the most contemporary show about what's actually happening. As we all know, marketing is going through one of its biggest transformations ever, where this thing controls the game. And there's so many things we pay attention to, but we get to talk to the brightest and best minds in marketing on Marketing for the Now.
I am so excited to be welcoming Greg Galant here with us at South by. We're here live from the Gallery Innovation House, and Greg is a special guest because he is the CEO of Muck Rack and the Shorty Awards. Greg, what brings you to South by this year?
Thanks for having me. Well, the same thing that brought me the last 15 years. Every year they've had it for I guess it's the 15th time about.
Lucky number 15.
That's right. And it's always my favorite place to just see what's happening next. I remember that this is where Twitter first got started. Yep. Many other startups. You could kind of see all the trends and how media is changing, how social's changing. So I find nothing beats just coming here and seeing it for myself. Plus, it's a great time to just run into friends and customers like yourself and just connect with people, even though we're talking about digital media, connecting with people in real life.
Nothing beats in real life, right? Like there's just something that's so special about being here in person and running into, someone you used to work with, a friend from home, ex-colleague, who knows, but like in South by Southwest, that is a place where that type of thing happens all the time serendipitously.
Yeah, I find I always have to budget extra time to walk anywhere.
Yes.
I think I'm going to bump into a person or two on the way. And
well, after 15 years, you probably will. So Greg, what have you observed sort of changing in South by Southwest over the last 15 years? If you had to boil it down to one or two things, what are the biggest sort of shifts you've seen?
It's a lot bigger now. So it used to be that South by Southwest Interactive, the part to talk about tech, not the music part, but the geeky part.
That's where you were hanging out, right? The interactive part.
Are you pegged to me?
Yes.
But that's where it used to just be a couple hundred people, so you kind of just knew, okay, everyone in there is kind of in the know if they thought to come. Now it's a bit overwhelming because you just have pretty much everyone's coming to figure out what's going on. So I find it requires a lot more foresight, forethought to know like which events to go to, coordinating more who to meet up with, trying to kind of pick out the signal from the noise.
Yeah, absolutely. And your company actually helps people pick out the signal from the noise. Muck Rack is an incredible PR and sort of communications technology that helps marketers, brand builders, communication folks understand what's happening both in real time and across networks of sort of publishers that they're following. Can you tell us a little bit about Muck Rack for those who don't know about it?
Sure. So Muck Rack is a platform for corporate communications teams at companies and PR agencies to find the right journalists to connect with, monitor the news, build reports, in addition to journalists, connect with podcasters, newsletter writers, et cetera. And they also have a whole suite of tools for journalists too, so they can set up portfolios all for free, do research on what's trending in the news, and do their job better too.
We use it at Vayner. We love Muck Rack. We love Greg, and he actually started this company, which is so impressive, and has built it to this huge thing. So it's just an incredible story of entrepreneurship, of innovation, of building in a space where there was a white area to play. And Greg, I'm curious for you, what are you looking to get out of South by Southwest? What brings you back here every year for 15 years? Is it customers? Is it learning? Is it a combination of all of it? Like there's so many creators and marketers here. What's like the magnet that draws you time and time again?
I find it's learning from the customers and also from the creators and the journalists out there. But when I have those conversations and learn from the people who use our website, like, hey, what's their pain point? What are they struggling with? Sometimes not even in relation to what our software does today, but in general, what are they seeing in the market? And then can take that back, and that's what gives our team ideas on what we should be working on next and what problems we need to solve.
So fodder for innovation, really.
That's right.
Amazing. And what do you think marketers and brand builders, so that's our community on Marketing for the Now, what do you think they need to know about South by Southwest?
Yeah, I think they need to know that it's really, everyone always asks like, hey, like what one industry is there? And the cool thing about South by, it's not just like one industry. It pulls together so many different people from media, from tech, investing. It's also in Austin, which has been a really entrepreneurial city.
Keep Austin weird.
That's right. They're keeping it weird, but weird with a lot more buildings and a lot more people to be weird with. So it's kind of like this great alchemy going on with so many different forces. And I think that's something where you can't really appreciate it until you come and you see what it's about and you have conversations with folks here. And it's something I encourage a lot of people to come to, even if they feel like it's not quite germane to what they do, because it'll get them thinking a little bit differently and give them some new ideas.
Yeah, so if I'm hearing you correctly, it's a melting pot, it's fodder for innovation, and it's a place you bump into people every year for, a decade and a half and counting.
That's right.
Greg.
And the barbecue's really good, the tacos are really good.
And the breakfast tacos are amazing. Greg, thank you so much for joining us on Marketing for the Now.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Sarah, so nice to see you and joining us on Marketing for the Now. Sarah, head of brand engagement at Maybelline. I'm so excited to have this conversation at South by.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's kick things off. South by, as a festival, it's all about technology and the intersection of all things there, and so many great things in our industry have started here. Why do you think brands should be at South by?
Oh, this is my first time here.
Okay.
So for me, as a newbie at South by, I'm so excited. I feel like there's so much inspiration everywhere. I definitely think brands, I'm hoping I can bring more of my team actually next year, to really experience, get learnings from other brands in your industry, outside of your industry, and also to network and see old friends. So I think it's definitely something that teams should try to prioritize if they can.
Love it. And the food scene in Austin.
And the food, oh my God,
the best.
The best. That's probably really my favorite part, but we'll
Yeah.
say it's the learnings and then the food.
Right, I love it. There's so many things to get into with Maybelline as a brand and what you guys are doing, but just in the sense of consumer trends and culture, everything is constantly rapidly changing. How do you keep up with culture and all the consumer trends that inform some of the great work you guys are doing?
We really focus on social listening, and social listening around what are people actually saying about our brand, about our products, about competitors, and also just what trends are really popping up where we can make ourselves relevant and join the trend. We're not going to join everything. Every trend is not right for every brand, but we're really just focused, both our community management team, we also have a customer care team that's really tapped in digitally as well. So we really utilize that information and those opportunities and our brand sentiment to see how do we stay relevant, especially being the largest cosmetics brand in the US, but also we're one of the oldest. So we started in 1915. So to make an old heritage brand relevant, you really need to listen.
Yeah, and to that point, you guys have such legacy and still are relevant today. Talk about some of the campaigns. We were just talking right before we started about some amazing work you guys have done. There's so many, the Hot Ones collaboration, such amazing work that has just blown up in the zeitgeist. Talk about some recent work that has celebrated that mixing of legacy but yet relevancy that's so key today.
Hot Ones was so much fun to work on,
So
I have to say. We had a blast, we had Gigi, we had Tan France, but actually something related to social listening that's a fun one. We know right now on TikTok, it's huge for people making fun of the early 2000s going out makeup trend, the clothes, back when I was in college, we looked kind of ridiculous. So we've noticed in social that people are they're creating content with our Dream Matte Mousse. If you remember that product, it was pretty iconic. We all looked ridiculous. We all wore the wrong shade. And so we decided to capitalize on that with some creators. One being Isabel Clancy. Not sure if you're familiar with her. She's hilarious. And so we realized she was using our products. We're like, let's make fun of ourselves with her. And we created some content together that was 2003 makeup with Dream Matte Mousse versus 2023, because it was a few months back. And it got 30 million organic views. The positive sentiment was wild. People saying Maybelline's that girl. She's always been that girl. And then that led to a longer partnership with her and similar throwback creators. And we were just so excited to see that we can stay relevant, even if we're having a little fun poking fun at ourselves, because we've always kind of been that tried and true cosmetics brand.
Yeah, and just the ability to be quick and see a trend like that and be able to be really nimble. And that I feel like is such an amazing sort of skill to be able to continue on the path of relevancy, but really be fast at the same time. Back to sort of South by and technology, all that. That's obviously so much of the conversation down here, AI and technology. You mentioned some of the platforms. How do you think about tech overall, whether it be AI or just generally speaking, informing all the great work that Maybelline's doing?
There's so much that hasn't even been unlocked yet, I would say. L'Oreal US, obviously our parent company, had acquired Modiface back in 2018, so pre-COVID. That powers all of our virtual try-on. So on Maybelline's site, when we do virtual try-on in our social channels as well. But I'm starting to see so much of the future of this almost AI for good, I started calling it, where it's like in community management, how can we really partner better with the platforms to really flag those comments that maybe are bullying and the bullying that's keeping our communities not as safe, our creators that we're working with not as safe. So I think there's going to be some movement there with, with AI that we can lean into, and also creatively too. I just think that we're still really at the beginning and learning. So I'm excited to see what's next in that.
I love that. I feel like there's so much fear sometimes on the AI front, but how you're thinking about it just feels such a positive kind of tone. So I love that.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining Marketing for the Now. So excited about all the amazing work that Maybelline is doing and what's to come.
Thank you for having me.
So excited to have Lily Horton here joining us from Vero. We're live at the Gallery House. Lily, how's your South by Southwest been?
It's good. It's day one. It's seeming like the city is starting to get a bit busier, and yeah, vibe is happening, isn't it?
The vibe is happening.
We haven't gone into the conference center yet, though.
Okay,
so,
but you're here, you're chilling, you're maybe having a margarita, enjoying all the vibes of the Gallery House.
Exactly.
Lily, you are the marketing lead at Vero,
Correct.
Which is a really cool app and a really cool social platform. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I've been with Vero about a year now. So Vero is a viable alternative social network. So we're ad-free and algorithm-free feed. And we are here to announce our new initiative called Vero 100, which is super exciting, which obviously we worked with you guys a little bit on last year. We've got an event on Sunday evening to officially launch our initiative. And we're inviting 100 creators to come and to participate and potentially co-own the platform, which is super exciting.
That is really exciting.
Yeah.
Creators get a lot of invitations, but an invitation to co-own a platform sounds really special.
Yeah.
A little outside of the usual. And okay, talk to me about South by Southwest. What attracts you to coming? This is such a melting pot of creators, of brands, of innovators, of musicians, all of that. What made you decide this was the spot to launch Vero 100?
So honestly, Vero is a platform, as you know, for musicians, for artists, and also kind of tech and Web3 world. So there is no festival or conference quite like it, which just combines all of these verticals together. And yeah, it's just such an awesome place to be, and we hope to be here next year as well. We're doing something a bit bigger, and yeah, just really absolutely loving South by Southwest Austin vibes.
Yeah, Austin's a great spot. And Lily, I know you've come to Austin a couple of times. I think last time I saw you here, you were here for Consensus.
Consensus, exactly.
Do you like Austin? Do you like the weirdness?
Yeah, I do. It doesn't feel like particularly Texan, I would say, weirdly. It's like a very liberal, cool town. And really, really loving this space here.
Awesome. And as a marketer, Lily, what are you excited and interested in learning at South by Southwest? Do you want to check out the brand activations? Do you want to check out the conference? Are you looking forward to talks? Maybe are you looking forward to some of the delicious, famous Austin food and cocktails?
Oh, yes.
What are you looking forward to as a marketing leader?
All of the above, but
same.
What specifically, actually, I'm really interested to see some of the installations. We were kind of walking around town earlier today and seeing some of them just being finalized. But that's, as a marketer, I love out of home. That's a special place in my heart. So yeah, that's what I'm super excited to see is some of those installations and those big brand activations as well, and see what I can learn and bring back to the Vero campus.
Amazing. So yeah, tell us about the Vero campus. Where are you guys based?
So we are all over the world. Vero is remote. However, we've got a team in London, and that's where I'm based. So
Lily is a VaynerMedia London alum, which makes
yeah.
her a very special place in all of our hearts. You've got to come to our new office opening. Vayner London is actually doing a new opening, so we hope to see you there as well.
Farringdon, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, which is next to our office. How convenient.
We love that. Okay, Lily, one more question on South by Southwest. Just as you think about brand folks here, because I think the contingent of marketers at South by Southwest continues to grow. Mm-hmm. Do you think they're kind of coming for innovation, for inspiration, for seeing what's out there? What do you think is attracting marketers more broadly to be flocking to South by Southwest in droves?
Honestly, marketing is such a creative sport.
Well put.
And I think there's no better place when you can be around true creatives, like musicians and artists and tech entrepreneurs, and to be able to just see what's out there. marketing is not linear, and I think the best marketing campaigns have been kind of, collaborations and opportunities that can really utilize and piggyback off like true creative talent.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like leaning into culture. It's creating something unique and differentiated that sort of stands the test of time. And I want to get a little bit into sort of what you all are building at Vero, because I think it's also quite differentiated. It's quite creative. In a world where Instagram and TikTok, though TikTok, as of today, there's more congressional back and forth on it, are so big. Why would a creator decide to go on Vero, and why would a consumer decide to spend time there?
Okay, so we are really trying to be a viable alternative, but being a kind of privacy first network. So our data is not like, as a marketeer, it's a struggle. Yeah. Because we really don't hold
very privacy first.
It's so privacy first.
You said no ads, no algorithm.
Yeah. So, a creator on the network really gets to access 100% of their following. So, you as a fan, you will be able to see all of a creator's content, be able to communicate directly with them. There's no algorithm to game. So it's a really just beautiful and clean space. Now, as a creator, what the Vero 100 initiative is doing is just really doubling down on ownership and being able to co-own a part of the platform. There's nothing like advocacy marketing, as we know, is super, super important. And to be an owner in that platform is the best form of advocacy in our
Well, we know that this is addressing very clearly stated consumer needs. So excited to see what happens next with Vero and the Vero 100. Thank you for joining us at South by Lily.
Thank you, Avery. Thank you.
Next up, I'm so excited to welcome Calais. Calais is the head of strategic operations and marketing planning at Vista. Did I get that right?
Strategic planning and operations, but you're close enough.
Okay, amazing. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I've been at Vista for a little over 3 years now, and Vista is formerly known as Vista Print, but we
Good
offer
clarification.
way more than print now, so hence the name Vista. But yeah, I'm leading strategic planning and operations, as you said, for both global marketing and our North America business, which is really great to be able to sit between the business and global marketing to see where brand and business interconnect. Before Vista, I was at Outdoor Voices, ESPN, Whole Foods Market. J. Walter Thompson is where I started my career as a little account executive. So
R.I.P. JWT.
I know, Wonderman Thompson now.
Right. No, I think they renamed it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, can't keep up these days.
I know, it's a new acronym. But you are actually an Austin local. So
I am.
Are you all here activating as a brand, or are you just here observing and seeing the sights?
Yeah, I'm so lucky that Vista is remote first, so I'm able to just be here and enjoy Austin in general. And we are not activating specifically, but just being here, I'm able to kind of look around and absorb all the amazing energy of the city every day. Honestly, this is such an entrepreneurial, creative city, but especially right now with the hustle and bustle of South by. So.
And South by, you just mentioned the hustle and bustle. It's such a convergence of creators, of marketers, of innovators, of musicians. Why should a brand leader take some of their precious time to go here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you can only learn so much from reading on the internet and watching webinars and talking to the people in your immediate vicinity, and coming to a place like South by. One, Austin itself is just an incredibly inspiring environment, but also
you're like NBD. I live
yeah,
here.
it's a pretty great place. But even beyond that, I think we as brand leaders don't make the time and space to just get inspired for the sake of getting inspired. It's so tempting to just chase, okay, what's the industry trend? What's the latest conference? Let me go there. At South by, it's really a confluence of everything creative and technology with an entrepreneurial spin to it. And to just be here and absorb and let that energy infiltrate your brain and your heart so that you make more interesting, exciting decisions down the line, I think is totally worth your time.
I love it. Yeah. And have you noticed sort of like an increased number of brand marketers coming here year over year? I feel that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general, Austin, just the brands, the consumer-facing brands that are based here has proliferated. And then beyond that, you have so many of these technology companies whose clients and media buyers are all flocking here as well. And so I think by nature of that, there's been this gravitational pull for people to come to South by.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's sort of shift gears a little bit to talk about what you are doing at Vista, because Vista is empowering a sort of new generation of more, I would say, mid-sized marketers, if that's probably the right term to use. How are you all building tools and services that help enable these, maybe smaller size marketers to do cool things?
Yeah, absolutely. So our primary audience is small business owners, but that can really be defined in a lot of ways. It can be the one person who has a side hustle on Etsy, all the way up to even a 99-person restaurant business with 2 locations.
Right.
And these folks are super savvy, they're super curious, and they want to do the best thing to grow their business, but they have no time. They're managing everything. If you're a small business owner, you are the marketer, but you're also payroll. You're also ordering the food. You're doing all the sourcing, whatever it is. And so we need to make things super easy and accessible for them in a way that allows them to manifest their brand, but without it having to take as much time as it might for them without tools like what we provide. So that's what we're all about.
So tell me like some of your favorite things that you all have done to make that turnkey for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost is continuing to innovate where we've always been the leader, which is print. Even though we are all gravitating toward digital in a lot of ways, especially with social media, print is still super relevant to a business owner, whether it's packaging and labels and stickers for your e-commerce business cards if you're a solopreneur with no brick and mortar, to everything in between. And so we really need to continue innovating our offering there, and not just the physical products, but also how we get it to them with amazing quality at the best price and as fast as possible. So I would say that's the first thing. But beyond that, design, making it super easy and straightforward for them to design, both using amazing designs that we curate for them, as well as hooking them up with like AI tools like our logo maker in order to make it really easy for them to manifest their brand in a beautiful way.
Okay, so South by is all about innovation. It seems like you all are innovating a lot on your sort of core product. You just mentioned AI. How do you foster that culture of continuous innovation at a company that's big, that's established, that's far more than 99 employees?
Yeah, no, it's such a great question. And I think first and foremost, we were an entrepreneurial business from the beginning. Our founder, Robert Keane, he had this dream of making print customized and accessible for small business owners at scale, and that didn't exist 30 years ago. He literally wrote the patent on the technology. And so entrepreneurship and innovation and kind of risk tolerance, risk friendliness has always been in our DNA. And we continue to foster that, especially through a culture of experimentation. We always want to be analytical and aware of what the risks might be of certain things that we want to do from a product innovation standpoint, from a customer experience standpoint, but there's definitely a culture where it's celebrated even if you failed because you tried. And not every company has that. There are a lot of companies who are afraid to experiment, and we're not. So
I love that. And you mentioned that you are not activating this year at South by, but I know you all have done some really cool, innovative, like both marketing stunts and more sort of full funnel campaigns, everything from your NBA patch through to some of the work that you all did with like individual restaurants and making those products available for purchase more broadly. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you're interested in as a marketer to see at South by? Are you gonna go spend your Saturday walking around checking out the activations?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course at the Gallery House too.
Of course at the Gallery House. I am going to get my margarita right after this.
Patron margarita.
Yes, and grab a seat for all the content. But I think I'm most interested in hearing the conversation around AI, honestly, both seeing how brands are leveraging it for the experiences that they're creating to help educate people, because I think it's really scary. And these companies who are trying to bring it to life in really meaningful ways need us to understand it and not be afraid of it. So I appreciate that. I also am planning to attend a dinner of a bunch of fellow brand marketers around just AI in general and how are we using it? What is our responsibility as marketers when it comes to AI in terms of protecting privacy, protecting creators and designers, something very close to our hearts at Vista. So I think that kind of like line of thinking and theme is where I'm the most excited.
I think AI is going to be a huge theme at South by 2024. So excited to dig into that too. Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and popping by.
Yeah, thank you.
Lisa, I'm so excited to have you join us on Marketing for the Now. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. It's great to be here.
We are here live in Austin, Texas for South by Southwest. We're at the Gallery Innovation House. And Lisa is actually one of our partners who's helping to put this on. So she is the CMO for EY, Ernst & Young, America's Consulting. Lisa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. So yes, I joined EY about 4 years ago. Before that, we really sat in kind of corporate America and was leading global organizations as their CMOs and running that. Before that, I cut my teeth at McKinsey & Company, where I actually was a strategy consultant for about a decade. So it's kind of nice to be back at EY. It's a little full circle. I get to work in professional services, but I get to do the marketing and building a brand that I love to do.
That must be so fun, sort of B2B, but with that B2C angle and showing up in these cultural places, showing up where culture is being built, and also where marketers and business leaders are coming to learn.
It's a great time. It's really exciting. It's really exciting to be here at EY. It's exciting to be here at South by Southwest as you see this convergence of kind of both what I call creative as well as the marketing kind of pieces really coming together. So it's just been a great time in the history.
And you all are doing some amazing work. So Lisa, like when you're thinking about all of the places that you can show up as EY, there's all the B2B conferences, there's the lunches, there's the dinners, there's an array of things that you could be doing.
Yep.
What attracts you to a place like South by Southwest? Why is this a place you all want to show?
Well, you said it right there, right? So think of how many conferences you get invited to, Avery. It's just, there's tons, and they tend to be really what I call single-threaded.
Yeah.
So they're about technology or they're about one industry in particular. What I love about South by Southwest is this convergence, right? It's a convergence of technology plus creativity. You got a convergence of different people coming. I mean, I just ran into someone walking over here. He flew in from London, right? So you just love it. And it's brought into such an environment where it's not the stale conference environment either. So it really makes you think about as a brand how you're going to show up. Because you can't just show up in a normal, like, hey, I'm going to be a talking head on a stage. You really have to think about your activation pretty holistically. So I love how you see brands show up here. I love the people who show up here because you do have kind of all those different walks of life and different viewpoints that are coming. And it turns to be a great melting pot.
It really does, and I just ran into someone on the street from Australia, which it just shows you people are coming in from all across the world to be at South by Southwest, and it's a nice long chunk. It's not just 2 days. I mean, South by goes, I believe it's 12 days, so a nice long period. And in addition to the conference itself, there's so many of these amazing activations happening all across town, ranging from artists, music, innovation, all of the things kind of combining, and to your point, a real convergence. So I'm curious, Lisa, if you could share a little bit with our community around what you all have planned at EY. I know there's a special guest joining us tomorrow. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
So we had a couple of things actually planned with you here at the Galleria House. So we have cracking the creative code. And so we're looking at that, and you'll be monitoring a session with obviously someone from EY, but also we're really excited to have Sue Bird join us.
Sue Bird, fangirl.
Yeah, totally fangirling. Wait till tomorrow. I will be a mess. But it's going to be just absolutely amazing kind of conversation with her around how do you think about this new creator community and using all these different digital channels to drive different markets. So really excited about that. And then we have another session, which will be yet star-packed again. It'll be all around like basically tailoring the beat of fashion and music. So it really is about how do you think about AI and its impact on both fashion and music. And we have a number of different guests there and everything else from DJ Ski, who kind of does a lot of work with Paris Hilton and other people, but really looking at how do you manage all of those different expectations when you're thinking about pulling AI in. We have a luxury brand manufacturer, Fossil, who will be joining us on stage, and they are using AI to literally drive all their new product development. So really kind of cutting edge and innovative. So we're really excited to have those two panels happening tomorrow.
We also have Swan Sit, we have Cheryl Lazar, we have so many of these amazing leaders from EY as well, both sort of local and then practice leaders from across the US who are going to be here sharing a little bit about the great work that you all are driving on the innovation front. And then on a personal note, Lisa, what are you excited about EY personally? Like as a marketer, are there things you want to check out? Are you doing a little fact finding, a little listen and learn, maybe a couple breakfast tacos?
Yeah, a few breakfast tacos it seems like lately. You know what, I think that the biggest thing for me right now is marketing, I think, is at this really interesting inflection point, right? There's so many that I've had over my career, but we're at another one, and we're at another one with regards to AI. And I think that as a marketer, we've always kind of reached for this, what I call this nirvana of the audience of one. And we keep hearing about you can get the audience of one or hyper-personalization, but you and I know that it was just hard to get to.
We were getting to like demographics
we could get to nice segments.
Yeah.
But getting down to smaller and smaller segments was always something we talked about, but the reality it wasn't there. What I love about now is with AI, you can actually both understand the universe of how you do that micro-segmentation, but then you can actually use it to do content generation as well to an audience of one. So I think that we're on this cusp as a marketing organization and a marketing community of really able to potentially getting to that point where we can actually market to that audience of one. And what I'm here really looking at is, what are those technologies that we're going to do? How do you think about the different team structure you need? How do you think about the different agency structure you need in order to get there? Because it will shake things up for us, but all for the good.
Absolutely. I think just the conversation around AI in the last 18 months has advanced so rapidly, right? Like, we've been aware of AI for a long time. I mean, think back to the Turing test. Like, this is not new news conceptually, but in practice and in ability for a normal layperson to use these tools, it's just been this incredible acceleration. And I've been really impressed and inspired by how many of our brand partners at Vayner have been able to lean into using AI. There's so many things that they're keeping their eye on, but they're not jumping headfirst into. And many of our partners have their own sort of custom trained LLMs that we're using for things like copywriting, things like personalized emails, personalized messaging that go beyond just, hey, fill in the blank name, but to really understanding their behavior patterns and integrating the data that these companies have around their customers into meaningful marketing communications and to your point, that audience of one. And then personally, I just love, experimenting with these new tools. Have you tried Pi yet?
I have.
Okay, what do you think?
I think it's actually really interesting. So you're going to be able to do some different things on there that you can't do with ChatGPT and Dolly and all those things. So it's going to really kind of drive, I think, just a different kind of use case for us. So it'll be good.
I think so too. And back to your earlier point around the convergence at South by Southwest, I think we're seeing a convergence in some of these AI tools with multidisciplinary functionality, ability to, there's copywriting, there's sort of strategic function, there's concepting function, there's copywriting function, visual, and all of this sort of coexisting in one tool that really empowers like super marketers of the future.
Yep. I think it's interesting though, as I look at it and I say, what's the challenge for an organization?
Yes.
Right, so I think in an organization, sometimes LLMs can be daunting.
Right.
Because you're looking at it and you're saying like, I've got to do X, Y, Z. And we all know you have to get the data structure correct. It's around that.
That's step zero.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But I think the other step even before that is thinking about really what do you want an LLM to be built for. So you might not do an LLM for your entire organization. You may actually think about like kind of what is the minimum intelligence needed to actually get this function done. And so as you're working, what I would tell the marketers is you're working with your organizations, you're working with your data organizations, and you're thinking through this. Think about those kind of more functional or finite use cases that you're going to want to build that around, and don't try to kind of boil the ocean. Kind of pull it off and think about what is that minimum intelligence necessary that I need to get whatever the goal and strategic objective is. Then once you know that, then you can actually build your right data pieces around it, and then you can actually use that to power your function. So a little bit different, right? So I think that there are a lot of like proof of concepts, but we're, and I would call 2023 was the age of the proof of concept.
Yes.
Now we're at like, how do you scale at the enterprise level?
Operationalize those concepts.
And get ready, because it's not going to be easy, but it is going to be game changing.
I love that. And I love your point there around point solutions and getting a few things right versus trying to, use these models to do a diverse number of tasks across the whole organization. Yeah. That can be really hard. But if you identify one approved, and there's of course all the legal, and ethical implications of all this, which should not be understated. But I think that the marketers were able to actually move from proof of concept to we're using this day to day is a defined sort of task and a point solution that can help them get there reliably, efficiently, and vetted through all the proper channels, which enterprise organizations, of course, have to think very carefully about.
EY, we just did an AI anxiety and business survey.
Oh, tell us the results.
So it was interesting, and I'll probably get the numbers slightly wrong here, but it was about 70% of people said that they were actually anxious about using AI in their business, but the same amount said that they actually do want the business to regulate it or for the government to regulate it. So it's interesting. People are looking at it and saying, hey, I'm interested about what this is going to do to my job and what I'm doing, but I do want the organization to come in and tell me how to use it. What are those guardrails? So to your point, how do you use AI responsibly and set that up becomes really important. The other thing I thought was eye-opening the survey is when you ask people, they were over 80% of people said they were using AI at work. But if you ask the businesses, they were not 80% say they have AI deployed.
Oh, of course.
So I look at them like it or not.
It's a little incognito tab that this ChatGPT is running.
Exactly. Like it or not, your people are using it. So you might as well, as a business, think about how you actually are going to govern it and manage it and do this kind of correctly going forward, because it's probably not going to stop. People are going to continue to use it.
Oh, absolutely. Corporate governance, guardrails, training, and educating people on both the benefits, but also some of the risks and key considerations. That's something we've been doing a ton of work on, particularly in the last year over, but I think that's like really the most foundational step to, you define your use case, you define the parameters your organization is comfortable with, because it seems like people are really seeking this guidance from their employers.
Yeah. And then the next one I just look at, and I don't know the answer at all, but I look at it and say, I wonder what it's going to do kind of to the people in the organizational structure. Do you start to have a much more kind of fluid organizational structure as you pull in these different things or not? What's going to happen with job creation, right? If you look
we see what's happening with Meta right now, right?
Oh,
their earnings
gosh.
have never been higher, and their employee base is shrinking. I don't think we've ever seen that, right?
Nope. But the other thing is, like, if you look at like cybersecurity, I kind of look at this, cybersecurity 20 years ago is kind of think of where AI is. AI is hiring the exact same number of percentage of people in the kind of workforce as AI is. So it just tells you how fast actually AI is driving job creation. Now, it may not be the traditional jobs, and that's why I look at it and I say, how do we think about the jobs to be done? And then how do we think about then knitting together those multidisciplinary teams? Because my hypothesis, and I don't know if it's right or yet, but it's going to be like you're going to have these pretty fluid teams that are going to be well beyond what you're used to working for in the kind of traditional marketing structure. You're going to have to really think about how you're pulling in technology and data, and look at your kind of creative agencies a lot differently, I think.
I think the theme of this segment has been about convergence at South by, convergence about the future of AI. And Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today.
Absolutely, it was lovely.
It's such a pleasure to be with you at South by.
Thank you, Mary.
Hi, we are here at South by Southwest, and I'm so excited to have a conversation with Giovanna from the Honey Pot today. We'd love to talk a little bit about South by Southwest.
Yeah, let's do it.
And there are so many things going on. I think there's a lot of brands that wonder, why would I want to come to South by Southwest versus any of the other places that I could potentially activate?
Yep.
So we'd love to hear a little bit more about why you're here and what you've seen from your experience so far.
Absolutely. So while the Honey Pot isn't, physically present at South by, obviously, as a human who is a brand ambassador and here on behalf of the brand, I do think that South by is critical for a few key reasons. One, building relationships is really important as we think about how we're getting external, like what's inspiring conversation, what's inspiring things that you can impact in the short term, and then translate that into long-term strategy. So I think a lot of it is just inherently relationship building, ideation, and again, getting out of your own head and being external. And I think that that's also articulated through the experiences that you see around us. So oftentimes we kind of associate commercial brands with being, fairly flat or utilitarian or what have you. And I think South by provides this environment where you can kind of augment the experience around a brand in a way that's really meaningful and impactful and reaches diverse humans throughout, either their own consumer journey or their own decision-making process. And so I think it's one, idea sharing, and then two, the ability to kind of create an augmented world around your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely an electricity here in Austin.
For sure.
You had a great night. It sounded like eating some tacos.
Yeah, my solo adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, the food in Austin alone, without South by Southwest,
right?
is certainly worth coming to Austin for. So, yeah, I mean, I think to your point, the electricity, I think that the challenge that people think of when they're either, thinking about activating here is like, who am I actually reaching? Who is in participation? And Austin is already a vibrant city. The Austinites themselves, are interested in South by, and they want to pop around and learn more. And so that's one thing. And then you have just loads of consumers, right?
Absolutely.
Whether it's like people who are, again, consuming ideas, information, et cetera, or who are hyper interested in brands and branding and learning more.
So yesterday we had a great conversation at the
Yes.
Soho House with the folks from Founder Made, and I loved hearing a little bit more about your founder story.
Yeah.
So maybe we can share that with folks, because there might be some people that don't know exactly what you're
Totally.
all about.
Yeah, so the Honey Pot Company is, a plant-derived vaginal wellness brand. It's kind of like, what does that mean? So our founder, Beatrice Dixon, was suffering from a year-long bout of bacterial vaginosis and was truly exhausting all of the
options, whether those were antibiotics, medical options, or even some of the like natural, like do it yourself at home kind of treatments. And so this one night, her grandmother came to her in a vision, in a dream, and gave her a list of ingredients. And she kind of woke up in a mode of reciting said ingredients. And those ingredients are what informed what is currently our normal intimate wash. And, you know, she used the product, it worked, and she was like, whoa, okay. So there must be other humans who are experiencing similar issues to me. And that was very much the genesis story for the brand. And then from there, it was, how can we look at this category in a way that's modern, fresh, functional, but also better for you? And so that is now why we have this like massive suite of products, a portfolio that is really dynamic. It's really catered to needs and life stage. And then what I always like to say is like, the needs of humans with vaginas are in fact so ordinary, right? And that we should be offering innovation in a category that has been highly antiquated and hasn't seen much development. And then, you know, to build on that, like obviously our marketing has to also create that experience.
Yeah,
and
tell us more about that, because I'm also interested in how you've brought all kinds of innovation over the years. You know, and it's tough to break into these, into a category like feminine care where there are huge spenders,
right?
You know, and so how do you continue to create loyalty, but then kind of build your net new audiences at the same time?
Of course. I mean, it's such an important question. I think it's actually like almost taking a step back is like penetrating the psyche of our humans, because as I like to say, like you will use, any number of brands because your grandmother used them. They were accessible to you at school. It is just what you're indoctrinated in. And also when it comes to menstrual products, a lot of it is cultural as well, right? Whether you opt in to use a pad or a tampon is very different based on the religious beliefs, this, kind of cultural beliefs of your family. So there's so many nuances and so much pressure in this category that it really is about kind of breaking into the psychology and getting into the nitty-gritty of that. And I think the Honey Pot has been able to deliver against that through things like humor and breaking down stigmas and using those stigmas as vehicles for change. Of course, our social media is, been such a massive tool for us. And then in the other places where we have control and, don't have to be conservative, because we do have to be conservative in the retail landscape, we really just push the boundaries. And the hope is that people are sitting back and thinking about not only that they are agents in making decisions for the kinds of products that they want to use, but that they can be aligned with the brand in a way that's giving them the education that they wouldn't have had access to otherwise. I think education is, arguably a brand pillar for a lot of brands, but for us, we take it really seriously because we do feel like it is our mission to educate. It's the #1 product we sell.
That's amazing. And you mentioned the role of social media and how you're trying to reach all different audiences. I have a teenager. Well, actually, she's going to turn 21.
Yeah, she's no longer a teenager.
Yeah, she's no longer a teenager.
She hasn't been a teenager.
Yeah, she hasn't been for a while.
Yeah.
Would love to hear a little bit more about how do you get those insights? Are you listening on different platforms? What are you seeing in terms of success in how you're reaching people?
Yeah, so I think, because this category, we can't really benchmark ourselves against the big people that shall not be mentioned. It is really about that introspection in terms of, are we upholding our strategy consistently? And when we deviate, does that deviation work? Or candidly, even is the meat and potatoes of our brand translating well? And so I think we're constantly state of analysis and evolution, but we're certainly using social listening tools at scale. And I think one thing that's really beautiful about the social team that we have, which is of course an in-house social team, is their ability to track adjacent categories and adjacent behaviors, keywords, et cetera, that are of interest and pertinence to our core consumer, to see how those conversations are growing and scaling. Are there any parallels or corollaries with the education that we're distilling? And so I think that we've actually used that less as a data and quantifiable tool, but more of an invite into
the consumer's way of being, which I think has been really like successful to kind of morphing and growing our social strategy. And then I think beyond that, you know, we run some pretty big segmentation studies and foot traffic studies. And I think what those do is obviously, again, pen to paper, give us some kind of numeric understanding of who our consumer is. But what it's allowed for us to do is actually start creating communication strategies and channel strategies contingent on the way that people buy in this specific category, which I think, again, would have hypothetically or in past has been overlooked because you're like, it's just women. Right. Women need menstrual products. And it's like, well, perhaps we should get a little more specific about what a woman, you know, what that woman is or what her affinities are. And so I think the brand has been exceptionally thoughtful in ingesting data, but also has looked at the kind of ecosystem of decision making to inform our brand strategy, to inform the channels that we show up in, to inform our product innovation pipeline, et cetera.
And obviously you're working with the retailers in addition to thinking about the consumer. Can you talk to us a little bit about those relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I think the truth of the matter is like this category has to have a prominence in retail. I think that if it was exclusively direct to consumer, we wouldn't have made the headway that we did. So I think that our ability to kind of own the shelf experience, to look and feel different at shelf has been huge. But those relationships have been paramount, right? They have allowed for us to, one, create impact. You know, our intimate washes are the #1 intimate or sensitive intimate wash in the United States, right?
Oh, congratulations,
this is like,
that's huge.
Thanks, it's big. Because Summer's Eve, like that's a brand that has existed notoriously for years upon years. And so what the value of the relationship has been tremendous because that's where consumers are and that is where humans shop. So that's one element. But I think the second piece of it is that it's actually given us the runway to not try to reinvent products, but reinvent the formulations, the way that they're positioned. So when you're at shelf, you inherently understand what the product is and what we do. We don't have to over-explain or over-justify or, you know, over-brandify, if you will. We can just be easily, like, telegraphically who we are and can telegraph also what the value of the product is without having to recreate a category in totality.
That's interesting. And so as you continue to extend the product line into things like herbals,
our body cleanser.
Yeah, the body cleanser.
Like personal care. The thing is like what we're saying is that like, do pads need to be reinvented, or is the experience of a pad? Does the experience of a pad need to be reinvented? I think that's like the fundamental kind of philosophical question. Do intimate washes need to be reinvented, or do they just need to have better, safer formulations? I think that's like the ongoing dialogue, you know, and you can look at seriously any product in the portfolio and ask yourself that question. And that to us is quite intentional because, again, when you discover us at a Target or Walmart and you're not deeply familiar with the brand, you are deeply familiar with the product because you understand what its use case is.
Beautiful. I know you were on a panel with Female Quotient. You're talking about across kind of omni-channel experiences, connected TV, all that kind of thing. Would love to hear more about how you think about the all-in. How do you think about the funnel? How do you think about having a full, a very omni-channel approach?
Yeah, so what I like to say is that we are digitally first, but retail forward. And so we're kind of always straddling very unique lines in terms of we have this digital marketing ecosystem that's really fueling the brand awareness, conversion, et cetera, but our dominant existence is in store. And so the brand is omni before omni even really made sense. And so coming into it as the marketer who kind of has to figure out its existence and moreover how to make it work, I think that's been a unique challenge, right? Because the big box retailers don't have highly dependent or highly mature digital programming. Right. And so it's often kind of researching and searching outside of that. We use a tool called Adherent, which is a digital marketing platform, and it actually does an in-store foot traffic study, meaning giving exposure, anyone who has had exposure to your product at shelf, translating that into a study, and then turning that into digital ads. So you saw the product at Target, you looked at it, you didn't purchase, you walked away, and all of a sudden now you're getting a series of digital banner ads that are prompting you to purchase. So for us, it's really about how are we creating our own closed loop, capturing that data, and also being able to share that data kind of internally and globally with our retail partners. So I think that has been a massive strategy for us in terms of trying to connect the dots, but also building our own ecosystem, because that ecosystem doesn't really exist. Like I'm not confident that there's a blueprint and market for how this kind of hybrid, world works.
Which is why you've been so successful, because you're constantly even challenging yourself
Totally,
and the category.
Totally. And then I think, coming back to things like, again, connected TV or social, what we see those as is devices to amplify, again, that core brand messaging that often gets a bit watered down at shelf. I mean, full transparency, like there are certain things that, again, whether we're featuring like blood or we're featuring the word vagina or what have you, that are automatically deemed as lewd, TikTok and otherwise in all of these places. And so for us, it's like, well, how do you say these things but not say them? And so I think that's often like the catch-22 truly of retail. But what we've done with, connected TV and social is really brought the ability to go deep and that latitude of storytelling. So while our connected TV ads are certainly conversion focused, they're focused on our direct-to-consumer site, thehoneypot.co, we get to have fun and play around with that messaging and really push the boundaries whilst also educating, again, brand pillar. And so it gives us just that depth of messaging and, of course, obviously, social, where we get to just be ourselves. And so if you were doing an immediate browse, scan, or whatever of the brand, like you're like, okay, not only is this product fabulous, but this brand actually resonates with me.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I can't believe this time goes by so quickly.
So quickly.
I'm sorry that we're going to have to wrap,
okay.
but I'd love to invite you over to the bar at the Gallery Innovation House.
Go.
Let's go. Let's have some tacos.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's have some
we love a noon cocktail.
That's
Let's
right,
go. That's
absolutely.
what South by Southwest is for.
Well, thank you so much for
Thanks
joining
for
us,
having me. This
Giovanna.
was so
I love your
fun.
story and
Yeah.
love the authenticity and everything that you bring
got
to us.
it.
Thanks
Thanks
so much.
for having me.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Hi, we're so excited to have this live conversation at South by Southwest with my dear friend, Michelle Froah, who has one of the best titles I think I've heard in a long time. Global Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer at ETS. Michelle, welcome. I'm so excited to have this time with you.
Me too. Happy to be
So let's start from the beginning. We've known each other for a while, and I think one of the things that's fascinated me about you is your career and kind of where you started on this path towards being the head of a big organization in marketing and innovation. But you've had lots of interesting twists and turns. So maybe we can start there.
Yeah, I do like to say it's been definitely a twisty road. So you have to buckle up sometimes and enjoy some of those curves, which I have. I started off as an engineer at Procter & Gamble. Was a summer intern there a long time ago. And, really loved that experience because it was working with people, leading teams, solving problems. And great experience to think about the customer actually and of our end products that were delivered to those customers, and it got me very excited about marketing and delivering on the customer needs.
So when was it then? So you start in engineering. You don't hear a lot of marketers that start their career in engineering. So I find that fascinating. Although now with the importance of data and AI and everything else, it probably serves you really well.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, again, with the problem solving piece, I think it definitely, and using data and being data driven to solve those problems and make decisions for sure. But I also think that leading and managing people that maybe have more technical proficiency than you do was a great experience because, now a lot of my teams are very, I would say, very scientific, very math-based, very data-driven. So whether that's customer insights and analytics, and trying to figure out how we deliver on customer needs and the most effective, efficient way to do that through our marketing, but also through product innovation. And you know, I'm very fortunate to have an amazing, talented team at ETS, not only from end-to-end marketing, but in product innovation and development. And so we have, you know, a big portion of our team that are AI engineers and product developers, and you know, really utilizing technology and AI to bring the best products to
That's
our
great, and I'd
customers.
love to have you talk a little bit more about ETS. But before that, so you started at P&G, which
Right.
is one of the most remarkable marketers, in addition to engineering companies. But then you went on to take on additional roles in some other remarkable categories as well.
Yeah, I had a great after about 18 years at P&G. So, you know, definitely have a lot of that great training to be a customer-obsessed marketer, I would say. I was able to take that to a bigger global level at Kimberly-Clark and lead the global reinvention of the Kotex brand. Which was incredibly exciting and super fun, actually.
We just
and
had
very
Honey
rewarding.
Pot on earlier today, so it's
Yeah.
a lot about feminine care here on the show today.
Yeah, you got real familiar real fast with all of that. And then had the opportunity to be regional CMO across APAC, and I lived in Singapore for about 5 years, which was an incredible experience, you know, to really understand how to bring commercial innovation and marketing to life across many countries that had different competitive sets and different customer behaviors and practices. And so you might have the same product, but how you commercialized it needed to be different. So
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so it
and
was a
then
great
I think we
opportunity.
met when you were at Samsung.
Yep. That was
Another-
awesome. Consumer goods and technology, you know, kind of intertwined, and we lived through some great times at Samsung.
That's right. Lots of twists and turns there,
Yeah,
for sure.
and some good brand
exciting,
building,
yeah.
and very fun to be, you know, in a lifestyle brand. And, you know, also to work on a global brand, but not at the global headquarters because I was in the US. And so, you know, saw life from kind of a different perspective, which was great. And then the last 5 years before ETS, I was at MetLife. And so, you know, moving closer to, you know, more of a service industry, I would say, and thinking about how you build more customer centricity into, you know, brands that are very transactional, like one-time transactional, and how you build loyalty and real relationships with your customers in a very low engagement category.
All right, so now we're here. Now we're
Yes.
at ETS. I think some folks out there might be thinking, I don't know exactly. I think I'm supposed to know what ETS is. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more. I know I was frankly really surprised about the global scale and the huge impact that you make. Would love to have you just kind of share where you are today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I frankly, I didn't know about ETS either. I guess I knew about some of their products and services, but not about the company and the brand ETS. And we're hoping to change that, actually.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. So, you know, ETS is a 75-year-old company, really rooted in a lot of history and reputation for delivering fair and valid assessments, you know, around the world. And so today we are, you know, looking to expand that and really be an education and talent organization that helps lifelong learners really be future ready. And, you know, future ready means that you have the skills, you know, to be able to adapt and thrive in that future world. And so we're really focused on advancing the science of measurement so that we can help build the right benchmarks out there for people to help human progress. And so we do that by looking at a couple of different outcomes that we want to see in the world. So one, we want to see human skill proficiency improve. Another one, we want to see that there's more upward mobility in the world, and that's across economic or social or even global dimensions. And the last one is we want to see that there's more opportunities that we can unlock for people everywhere.
That's beautiful. You know, and it's interesting, we were having a conversation about what's your experience at South by Southwest, in that you actually arrived for the South by Southwest EDU, which I frankly didn't even know that there was a segment that was dedicated to education, which actually is incredibly, it's so important, right?
So important.
And then to have you continue on for this interactive period. Would love to hear what was it like to be a part of EDU, and what were some of the insights that you took away?
Yeah, it was a great experience, I have to say. Huge crowds, lots of people, lots of engagement and interaction. All the sessions, we had a couple of great sessions where our ETS leaders were on stage, and one session even was 200 people. And a line out the door to ask questions, so very interactive. There's 3 tracks that, I think are examples of almost some intersection with this part of South by Southwest as well. So there's the future of tech, work reimagined, which I love. I think that's definitely going to happen, and then teaching and learning. And so, I think about from a marketing standpoint, where many brands are trying to have impact in those areas, but utilizing thought leadership, bringing that to the forefront, but also technology and AI to improve those experiences for customers and get outcomes that people want, particularly not just in education, but if we are creating people that can thrive in that future world, it has to start with education, and they have to be ready for the South by Southwest interactive part, right?
Yeah, no,
and being able to thrive in that and have the right skills and have the right abilities to be able to thrive there.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, the whole idea of AI and what is the impact going to be, and how are we teaching people?
Right.
Knowing that there are these newer roles that people are going to be taking on where they have to understand AI. I think there's a lot of discussion around a preoccupation with, are all these jobs going to go away? But we'd love to hear about how you as an organization are embracing AI and bringing that into how you're also supporting your key audiences, the students and everyone else.
Yeah, there's, like every industry, I think, and every company, everyone's trying to figure out how is AI going to not only impact us, but how can we utilize AI for those outcomes. And so I would say, there's a couple of different work streams. I'm actually partnering with my CIO, great partner, and we're helping to lead like a strategy work stream that's very cross-functional across the organization, right? Because this doesn't just impact one department or one division or one part of our business. We all have to integrate together and figure out the best ways forward. So first one, honestly, is increasing AI literacy across and utilization across our organization. So we had an AI summer school last year and had huge participation across the org, which was great. We just recently had an AI hackathon where 22 teams across our whole company got together, and within 3 days generated amazing ideas that we're all like, we need to put these on the list to to really get behind. Amazing and interesting ways to utilize AI, not only for efficiencies, which, of course, everyone can use that for operational efficiencies, but thinking about ways that we can utilize it to really impact our customers and improve not only their experience, but also better deliver on their needs. So, for example, we're utilizing multimodal AI in some products that frankly are out there on the App Store. You can get for free. That's part of our mission,
Try that out.
I know. Part of our mission to, be able to deliver value to people around the world. One that I love, and of course, I have my kids, and I try and tell everyone that's even thinking about jobs and job interviews. It's called Authentic, and it utilizes AI in the sense that you can get on, say, I want to interview for this level of and in this field of a role, and AI will come back and give you some sample questions, that you might be asked in that interview. And then you talk, into your app, and you'll get feedback about your speech and tone, or your eye contact, or actually the quality of your answer. And so, it's helping to improve your skills, honestly, on communication, on clarity, and other aspects like that. And I think that's a great way to use AI to actually help you better those human skills that you might need for the future.
I love, Michelle, how you are able to really dive into the organization and help to consider the role of the product in addition to the marketing. That is not something that you typically see, and I think it has to do with your muscles, your engineering muscles. So congratulations on that front. Also interesting that you are, it sounds like, about to launch a new brand, and would love to hear. I know you can't share a whole lot because it's not live yet, but would love to hear whatever you can share that would help us understand, like, how do you actually get an organization excited about the future and to kind of live into a brand, so it's a driving force towards True North.
Yeah, and it's, anyone that has done this before is going to know, like, it's not a light switch, and it's also not an easy effort, because you really have to be enrolling of the entire organization, particularly when you're working with a brand or a company that's held so much historic value, because you have to be true to who you are and the amazing things you've delivered in the past, and the impact that you've had, but also have an eye to the future on what could we impact, even in a bigger and better way in the future. So we last week just did an internal launch of our new brand, and it's more than as you know, a brand is more than a logo.
That's right.
It's more than the
color palette. Interbrand, yes.
It's really the positioning that we have, the outcomes that we're looking for to be able to impact in the world, and the response that we had internally. I mean, I think everyone floated out of that room, honestly. We are so excited to bring this new proposition to the market, but not only just to the market, really to the world, and be able to have an even bigger impact than ETS has had in the past.
Well, congratulations. I know this is your baby, so we'll all have to check it out. When does it go live again?
April 9th.
April 9th. Okay, so it's coming up. It's coming up. All right. Well, I wish we could continue on, but maybe we do. We go grab a little Austin taco.
Oh, I love that.
Little something now. What do you say?
I missed lunch, so let's do that.
Okay, let's do it. All right.